What's up, foodie fam, and welcome back to What the Fuck, aka What the Fuck Am I Supposed to Do with That? The foodie podcast talking about finding random shit in your house and figuring out what the fuck you can make with that. My goal here is to elevate shit, to help you elevate shit by taking random shit like soy sauce and making that shit the best seasoning you've ever had for your chicken. Or taking a little olive oil and maybe a couple other things and making you a great salad dressing. That's what this is about. A podcast literally upstepping your game up with your food cooking. Shit, I'm a little jumbled this episode. As a matter of fact, let's talk about this episode. This is episode 7. Episode 6 was last week and we were talking about seasonal. This week, we're talking about hearty meals. And this is perfect because this episode should be dropping right on Thanksgiving's Day. Looking forward to it, looking forward to discussing all that shit. And just a fun fact for all you people out there who listen to this or go back and listen to it. My friends were supposed to join me because I wanted them to help me talk about hearty meals since they eat my food the most. But those bastards decided they were going to ditch me. One friend who shall remain nameless double booked in time of recording when he agreed to come. The other friend, he was accommodating but waiting on another friend, and so it took forever, and so we ran into some issues, and so it's just me, your boy, back here talking to you about food shit. But let's dive in. But before we actually talk about the topic of the day, again, which is hearty meals, what we're going to talk about is what the fuck did I eat this week that I loved? Again, this is a new segment that I decided to introduce in the intro, just to get the conversation started about, just food and what you loved. So, this week, for me, I ate Chinese food. I know that doesn't sound exciting. Some of you may love it, some of you may not. But I actually love Chinese food. It's my favorite takeout. If I were to put my things in order of food that I love and what I like to eat, I think I'll start with food that I love to eat and cook. So both eat and cook would be Italian food. It's one of my favorites. I love Italian flavors, love the earthiness, love the boldness. I love everything about the savoriness of Italian food. So that's my favorite to cook and eat. My favorite to eat is fried chicken. And the only reason it's not number one is specifically I gotta get the flour out. I gotta fucking get the oil up, and then my house is gonna smell like fried chicken, which I'm not mad at. But sometimes you have white neighbors who don't like it, and no, shout out to all my white friends. But it's sometimes people just don't like it. So fried chicken can be an ordeal, although I do love it. Actually, in some circles, I'm called Chicken George, and not because I'm scared of shit. It's because I fry some mean ass chicken. But lastly, my favorite takeout is Chinese food. I can eat it at least maybe twice a week. It's convenient, it's so good, and it's probably the MSG, but we're not gonna talk about that shit. But I do love Chinese food. My favorite thing to get is house special fried rice, so a blend of pork, beef, chicken, and shrimp, and some lo mein. So I love the noodles, love the texture of the noodles. Next to that will probably be maybe a beef and broccoli or something along that lines. But overall, I mean, anything Chinese, I don't think you can go wrong with. And so I ate some this week specifically because I just didn't feel like cooking. We're going into the holidays. We literally are going to be cooking, or at least I am going to be cooking a shit ton of food over the next couple days, and repurposing some of that food over the next couple days. So I didn't really want to think too much about what to eat or what to cook for lunch or anything like that. And the best part about Chinese is that when you get it, if I get it for lunch one day, I can eat the rest later for dinner or the next day. Because everybody knows Chinese food is always best heated up later on, like microwave shit. But that's pretty much what I wanted to just really highlight this week is that if you have a good Chinese spot, support that shit. Like basically all these businesses out here are literally going under because of COVID times, and we're going back and forth on whether we're closed or we're open. So while we can, let's help out, the small businesses in your area. I'm in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. And literally, I'm in between two Chinese places, so I try to spread the love, one on one part of the week and one on the other. I know some people who don't want Chinese food as much as I do, but I love it, and that's what I ate this week. All right, now the next part of this segment, which I tested out, and I hope you guys like it, is what the fuck is something that I would like to try. And I saw this video. So this is going to be very specific. So I saw this video on YouTube, and I believe it may have been a BuzzFeed or BuzzFeed Tasty video. Can't recall, but it was phenomenal. Like it literally was something that I absolutely want to try at some point, maybe next year, but not this year because I already have my menu planned out. But it is called a turkey Wellington. If you don't know what a Wellington is, it's usually beef or beef Wellington, and it's usually meat, like a thick piece of meat that's pounded out, well, sliced and pounded out, and then you put in some sort of like stuffing. Well, in for the turkey Wellington, it was with stuffing in this video, but you put in some ingredients in the middle. It could be vegetables, a bunch of different things. Then you put it in a puff pastry, and then you roll it, and then you freeze it. You do a couple things to like get it together, seasonings, like yada yada yada. But eventually, you want to bake that bad baby, and when you do, it comes out like this perfect little fucking golden bready meaty dish, and it's like perfect. It takes a while to cook, in the preparation. For someone like me who's a little bit impatient, it's a bit tedious. It takes a while, but I mean it's worth it. It looks delicious. I've had beef Wellington before, and I do love it. This turkey Wellington one though, it was fucking delicious. The girl or the chef who pounded it out and laid out the chicken breast, put in stuffing or dressing, and then she rolled it, and then she seasoned it. Like I said, she took some time in preparation, but she also made a bunch of different sides with it, which made it amazingly delicious. But essentially what she did was she took the turkey, the stuffing, the dressing, like we would normally have it, and put it all together, and it was just in a little puff pastry that just came out delicious. So that's what the fuck I want to try this week. I haven't tried it, but I will try it, and maybe you'll try it. So, to wrap that up, if there's something that you guys have had this week or something that you want to try this week, let me know. Shoot me an email at ginroecooks.com. I'm sorry, at gmail.com. Or check out the podcast or the Facebook, All Gin Roe Cooks. And let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you want to have. All right, time to dive in. Topic discussion for this episode is, again, hearty meals. So I really want to talk about this because, again, like I said, we're going into a place where we literally are about to just eat a shit ton of hearty food. Nothing like fucking holiday food makes you feel full, enriched, satisfied, and like sometimes sleepy, but sometimes ready to take on a day. So I wanted to just talk about different hearty meals and what we call that, I guess you could say. First up is, what do we consider a hearty meal? For me, a hearty meal is anything that is heavy, quite honestly. It's rich, it's full, there's just a big plate of it or a big bowl of it, and it can be a lot of different things from a stew to, actually, I believe you can actually have hearty salads. I can give you a big bowl of a salad with a lot of fixings and things in there that make it really heavy or really full for you. Or it could be something, like a traditional dinner, like meat and potatoes. I used to work with this woman a while back, and I don't know why I always remember this, but I used to work with this woman a while back. Shout out to Mama Cass. Her name is Cassandra, and she was not the most vegetarian-friendly person. As she described it, she was a meat and potatoes kind of gal, and that's what I always remembered about her. And she was a very lively woman, fit and everything like that, but she just preferred savory, heavy, hearty meals. And I love that because I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person. And within recent years, I have increased my veggie intake to about 80% of like all meals and pretty much all the things that I eat. But I try to make sure that shit is savory and filling, and I have more than enough to feel like it's a heavy, hearty meal. That said, hearty meals don't have to actually be unhealthy. They just have to feel like you're full, like you're just satisfied. I think that's the key word here, is that satisfied. And I think that, to me, is a hearty meal. What is your version of a hearty meal? What do you think? I mean, again, we're always going to talk about leaving shit in the comments, but I'm curious. I'm absolutely curious to see what people think a hearty meal is. That said, I want to talk about my favorite hearty meal. I mentioned it already. I will mention it forever and ever because I do love fried chicken. I do love soul food. And now that we're going into Thanksgiving, which should be today when this episode airs, I wanted to just shout out all the cooks out there who are slaving away, getting that turkey together, the greens, the mac and cheese, the sweet potatoes or candy yam, the dressing or stuffing, the rice, the green beans, the potatoes and green beans, all that shit. Where I come from, we literally had buffets of fucking hearty food. And then on the holidays, especially this one, you make your plate, go down that line with your cousins and your friends and your families. You make your plate, you go off somewhere, eat, watch some TV, sleep, wake up, go get another plate, do that again if you haven't already. stashed one away or tucked one away, because that's what the smart people do. But that is tradition around this time. And so for me, that is ideally my hearty meal. My version of what I would like in a hearty meal is, again, fried chicken. I prefer wings and flats, not drums. Fight me, bitch. And then I want maybe some greens, mac and cheese. I do love green beans for some odd reason. So green beans and potatoes, I mentioned that. It's delicious as shit to me. It's simple and easy to make. Throw some spices in there. I like a lot of spicy shit. So some red pepper flakes or chili flakes, and it takes it to a whole new level. But green beans and potatoes, I gotta have my sweet potato pie. And then I think for the most part I'm good. Oh, dressing. My mom's dressing. She makes this cornmeal dressing, and I literally just called her probably like a couple days ago to ask her for the recipe for cornmeal dressing. And I was shocked a couple years ago when I found out that her recipe is literally just the dressing on the side of the box, on the side of the bag for Jiffy Mix or Ancient Mama cornmeal mix, and it tells you how to do it. And I made it once, and then I loved it and made it again. And obviously, I love mom's food. So it's a tradition, quite honestly, for me to call her, ask her for the recipe, only for her to remind me that it's on the side of the box. So I gotta have some of that too and throw that in there. So that's probably my favorite hearty meal. Next to that, it is going to probably be I forgot the name of the pasta. I'll give you two, guys, actually. There's one that I love. I think there's a restaurant in New York that actually makes an amazing pasta dish. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. The restaurant is called Cotenna, but I think it's a ragu over tagliatelle, I think is how you pronounce it. And it is so delicious. It's one of my favorite pastas. I mean, it's like a flat noodle, which reminds me of my second favorite pasta, going back to Asian food, but this one is Thai. There's a dish called ladna, like Lardna, and it's just a flat egg noodle, broth, usually served with some veggies, some chicken, and the broth is kind of thick, almost like a gravy, but it is delicious as fuck, and I love it. Like, those are hearty meals to me as well. So it's needless to say, hearty meals can actually transcend cultures. It doesn't have to be just something that is soul food oriented. It could be anything you want. But that is my hearty meal. So now we've talked about Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to this Thanksgiving. So by the time this drops, I'm going to be actually probably cooking, whipping up a storm. I don't like to be in the kitchen a long time. So a lot of my recipes are new takes on old traditions. I may have mentioned somewhere in the podcast before. If I haven't, I will post some of this shit on my website and how to do it. But like my greens, I don't cook overnight. It usually only takes me about 20 minutes to make my greens. And I've tested it out with a variety of different groups, and everyone seems to love it. It's vegetarian, it's quick, it's spicy, savory, has a nice crunch to it, and it is delicious as fuck. And I try to replicate those kind of things in other things. So how I make my mac and cheese when it's baked. I'll make a bechamel sauce and actually cook the noodles and cook them in the water and then in the sauce, and then it gets a lot of the work done for me. Pop it in the oven, bake mac and cheese. So it's a different. I try to do that and knock it out, very, very quickly, because I don't know if you guys know or how you feel about this. And if you are a cook out there, then you probably understand. But cooking takes a lot of fucking energy. I mean, yeah, you can get conditioned to it over time, and if you've been doing it forever, it looks so easy. But cooking takes up a lot of fucking time and energy. So I don't want to spend my entire Thanksgiving in the kitchen just, cooking away while everyone else is out doing something else. Now, don't get me wrong. Half of my time in the kitchen, especially on a holiday, is going to be me getting drunk while trying to make sure I don't fuck up this food, and then also dancing around to soul music or whatever it is that I feel like listening to that day. And that's fun. That is the fun part. But I don't always feel that way when I'm cooking, because a lot of times, especially if I'm cooking for other people that are outside of my family, so professionally, I'm paying very close attention, making sure I'm not doing anything, making sure all my shit is together so I don't fuck anything up, especially myself. But I do look forward to Thanksgiving cooking or Thanksgiving Day, because for me, seeing people enjoy food, especially a hearty meal, is super satisfying. When people are just like, oh, so stuffed and tired, that makes me feel good. And I don't know. I think I get that from like my grandma or something like that. I think all our grandmas love when they babies eat their food. So So for me, I'm looking forward to this day. I'm looking forward to it, especially because this time around I'm going to be spending it with some friends, some newer friends rather, and we're going to be sharing a lot of games and fun and different cooking styles and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving Day and the hearty meals that come from that. Segueing from that, I do want to talk about the leftovers pretty briefly. So for the leftovers, there's a lot of shit you can do. I'm going to just send out recipes to everybody in my email list, so sign up today. Basically telling you how to fucking make quesadillas, chicken, huevos ranchero, fucking pad thai, using all the shit that you actually have left over from Thanksgiving meal. Because typically, it's a lot of bases that you can just repurpose. Like I said, the turkey can be done in a lot of different ways. This year, I'm actually doing a roast and a brisket and maybe a chicken as well. But I know that brisket I can easily turn into sandwiches for the next day or put it into a hash for breakfast. And then other things like, the green beans or the sides and stuff like that are always great. You can actually mix them into other dishes. Add some rice, throw in a couple other things like some bread and maybe some eggs and stuff like that. Maybe condense it. And I'm thinking specifically about maybe the dressing. And you can create a whole new type of sandwich or just a mashup. You can never go wrong with a bowl. Just like that's why bowls. I want to say maybe like a couple years ago, bowls were super super popular, and I mean bowls in the way of like teriyaki bowls or rice bowls, or I forgot the name of a shop. There was a shop in Seattle that basically only did bowls, and it was whatever you wanted. So they started with a base like a rice base, and then would actually just let you do it up, whatever you wanted to do, pile it up, and with a protein and veggies. And it was pretty good. I think they were pretty successful. I don't know how they're doing now, given everything, but that's the same thing you can actually do with your leftover Thanksgiving food. All right, fam, we're almost done. Couple more segments. Thanks for hanging in there and listening. Next, we are going to talk about our what the fuck am I obsessed with item for this week. Now, this is a two-parter. This is going to be amazing for you guys because we don't do one. We don't do twos. We only do one. In this episode 7, Hearty Meals, we're going to talk about 2 what the fuck featured items that I'm obsessed with this week. The first one is going to be something we've all had. It's going to be something that is super delicious. It is satisfying to the highest degree, especially as a late night snack. It is the one, the only motherfucking PB&J. Yeah, the basic ass peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That is what I'm obsessed with this week. And let me tell you why. Literally, at any point in time during the day, if I want something, just to tide me over to the next meal, or I'm just a little anxious and just need some food and I don't feel like cooking, or I don't want something microwaved, or just something just delicious as fuck. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Literally, it's all it takes is a little couple swipes of peanut butter, a little squirt of jelly, and you're good. And it's always delicious. Peanut butter is creamy or crunchy, whatever you like. And then jelly is always sweet and ooey gooey. That shit is always great. And you slide that in between 2 nice pieces of bread, especially some soft, pillowy bread. And it is amazing. I will wake up at 2 in the morning and still want a snack. Boom, there we go. It's light and easy, but still satisfying. Or if it's before lunchtime or after lunchtime and I still don't feel quite full, boom, there you go. And it just ties me over. I think it's delicious as fuck. Weirdly, I've been trying to figure out where the PB&J originated. I looked back into it, and it was one article said it was, or a couple articles said that it was created in a Boston cooking school, like the actual process of putting peanut butter and jelly in between 2 slices of bread was brought to us by a chef in a cooking school in Boston. I don't know how true that is, but someone let me know. The other part is there was mass introduction of this because schools were starting to be required to actually provide lunches for kids many, many years ago. And so the PB&J was a cost-efficient way to do it. Now, that should I believe. But either way, I'm glad we have it because I love it. I loved it since I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure the majority of you do too. The second thing that I'm obsessed with this week is actually the bread itself, a specific kind of bread. I love potato bread. I've been eating it for a couple months now, and I was just trying something different. Basically, if you don't know, most things that are enriched, like white bread, is not the healthiest thing for you. And as you get older, as your doctors tell you to mind shit like that. So I've been trying to eat, make substitutions for a lot of stuff like wheat bread and whatnot. But then I landed on potato bread and I looked at the nutritional facts. And it is a little bit healthier than, well, it's better for you than regular white bread. Wheat bread, it's in the same vein, specifically because it's a little bit like made from starch and it just tastes better, quite honestly. The potato bread, not the wheat bread. But the wheat bread was a little bit dry to me, and I didn't really enjoy it. I'll eat it, but it wasn't amazing. But the potato bread, though, it's full of like different vitamins or nutrients that you need. It doesn't taste as bland as white bread, and it doesn't taste as hard and starchy or cardboardy as wheat bread. It's like right in the middle, and then it's just depending on the brand you get, it's soft and fluffy, and you never really have to worry about it. Other than like if you're trying to make toast, because then you have to extra toast it because it's so soft and fluffy. But it's so amazing, and then so I use the potato bread with my PB&J, and boom, I'm obsessed with the two things this week, and that's why I brought it to you. But that is our what the fuck am I obsessed with featured item this week. All right, guys, this is it. Last moment, last call. We're on our last segment, which is the featured item of the week. So not what I'm obsessed with, but the what the fuck featured item of the week. This is the place or the time where I'm going to go to the cabinet, randomly grab something, and talk about what you can do with it. So bear with me. I'm about to rummage through my cabinets for 2 seconds and just randomly get some shit. All right, I got it. This week's what the fuck featured item is rosemary. So rosemary is a great herb that a lot of people use in a lot of different ways. It comes in it's just a plant like most herbs, but you can get it dried or fresh in like plants and stems and stalks. And then the way that you would use them is that literally if you have them fresh, you actually pull off all the leaves, all the little pods and everything like that, and throw away the stem. Some people like to chop them or crush them. If you have a small kitchen appliance like what the fuck is that thing called? I can't even think of it. It's a spice grinder. If you have a spice grinder, that makes it easier. But the fresh herbs are much better to use. They're full of flavor. You don't need as much as you would with the dried herbs. But the dried herbs are super fine. Literally, dried herbs are probably what you're gonna have in your cabinet anyway, because it costs like maybe $1 or $2, maybe $3 to get that at your grocery store. It's about the same for the fresh, but the dried is gonna last months longer than fresh, obviously. But the way that I would use rosemary is either on chicken, pork. You can use it with beef, so like literally you can use it across a lot of different types of products, meat products or protein products. I rarely ever put it on veggies. Something about the blend of the veggie processed meat, and that's what I mean. So veggie processed meat, so like the faux chicken patties and things like that. Something about it doesn't sit well to me. So I try to use more different spices to enlighten the flavor there. But with rosemary, typically I'll absolutely throw it on a meat or some sort of protein, cook it really quickly with the dried version, like a sear or something like that. And then if I'm using the fresh version, I'd actually throw it into a pan with some butter underneath it and kind of like let it become a sauce or blend it, let the flavors blend and kind of spoon it over that product, or put it into like a baster, or not a baster, but if I was literally putting the chicken into the oven and steaming it through with some sort of base liquid, putting it in there so that the flavors kind of infuse not only in that base liquid but into the chicken as well. So rosemary is pretty dope. It's an earthy kind of flavor. It literally is used in, I don't know, countless goddamn cookbooks everywhere. I've seen them in recipes and stuff like that. And it's a pretty easy spice or herb to actually find in your local grocery store. So, rosemary, pick that shit up if you don't already have it, and then try something new with it. I'll probably load another recipe to the website for you to check out, which will be on GinRoeCooks.com under the blog section. And that's pretty much it. Alright fam, that is it. We have wrapped episode 7, Hearty Meals of What the Fuck, aka What the Fuck Am I Supposed to Do With That? Thanks for listening. Come back next week where we're going to be talking about some more spicy food shit. And as always, if you haven't followed or subscribed, check out Instagram at What the Fuck Podcast on IG. Also, Gin Roe Cooks on IG for more food porn. Facebook, same, Gin Roe Cooks. Shoot me an email with comments, questions, or concerns at ginrocooks@gmail.com. And shout out to our network, HausHill Entertainment. If you're looking for a place to start your podcast, this is the spot. They got everything you need and they do it all for you. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Peace.